So the formats of tenders, like I've sort of alluded to before, they can range wildly. Normally, tenders, open and closed tenders that are formally issued or published are normally quite formal and structured. They'll be normally have very clear outcomes. We hope exactly what the client wants, by when, how many, any other like supporting documents, compliance with health and safety and legislation and whatever. Normally those things are quite structured. It can be as informal, like we've got good clients that literally might send me a WhatsApp message with a picture and say, can you build 5 of these in a month? It can, the formal stuff is almost easier because it's paint by numbers. I'll share with you just before, please remind me, we've just started to deal with the WhatsApp message level briefing, the more informal or the briefs that lack information. We've literally put a questionnaire page on a URL for our business, and we as a studio go through it when we get an inquiry, if it's just a sort of a very superficial or very content light inquiry. But we also try and push some of our clients to it and say, please fill in this form. Make sure you give us everything we need to reply or respond to your quote. Because often the more informal or the less practiced clients or companies might not be as good as they should be at actually asking exactly what they need. And you as a supplier, you should know what you can supply and what you are normally asked to do in certain situations. Just back to the big malls we work with the V&A waterfront quite often. We've just been asked by a third party to design something that it might be installed at the V&A waterfront, which is a big mall basically in Cape Town. Because we've got 10 years of working with that client, the V&A waterfront, we had to go back to this third-party client and say to them, look, we know from experience that the V&A waterfront requires A, B, C, D for you to pitch anything at them. You need your safety files, you need an engineering certificate for any structure you put down, you need to have a maintenance schedule already in place and part of your proposal that if you're pitching something to this. So to that, we try and actually help some of our clients actually articulate what they're trying to say to us. So they, like I say, you will find them in all the places I mentioned before, and they very much take the form of the entity that present them to you. Some of them are beautifully full of detailed information, and some of them leave you at risk for not understanding or not fulfilling the requirements. So it's also a bit of risk management on you as a supplier. If you see a hole in the thinking of the person that makes the request, to push back and say, well, do you know that you need to actually do this to do A to be able to do B, and you need to make that part of the job, or else you won't succeed, because we have experience in working with shopping malls, for instance. So this is just sort of examples. The one on the left-hand side is sort of just a template of what we put in a quotation when we present it to a client. And then the other one is basically what I got back from somebody when I asked them for something. They send me a WhatsApp message and some 5,000-ish, that's there. their attempt at the quote to me. So when you do put out, apart from, the supporting documents, the documents itself, and I receive a lot of quotations or responses to tenders that I put out for subcontractors that I often need to employ to put together a bigger project that we project manage, is sort of, and you'll see this URL that I'll share with you, where we've got this template, as we ask, what's your company name? What is your VAT number? Is your company registered? What's the delivery address? What's your banking details? Whatever, what's the terms and conditions? We have a set of general terms and conditions that we put on every quote. For instance, this quotation is only valid for X number of days, or it's pegged to the rand dollar exchange rate, or whatever you need to do to make yourself safe. And this is partly a contract as well that you create with your client. We sometimes say in our depending on the project, that all the intellectual property remains the property of Flatrock Studio, unless otherwise specified, or unless you actually pay for this intellectual property, because we selling you something that you want 50 of, but we designed it as our product. We're just supplying you a product. We're not supplying you the design service. So having enough information when you either give out a quote, or so that your client knows how to get hold of you, has your bank details, knows who the contact person is that's actually issued the estimate, the quote. You won't believe how many WhatsApp messages I get like this. I don't know, now I need to send you a purchase order. I don't have an email, and that's a document. I don't want to WhatsApp it to you. I need to email it to you or something like that. So it's just good housekeeping to make sure that and it's also part of your professional image, is that you present, this is a document that goes out like a flyer or a leaflet or business card to your clients. So when you're submitting the documents, whether it's just a quote like this, or whether it's an extensive pack of documents, that you present them with all the information that they might need, even if it's not required or asked for explicitly, but make sure that it's there. You won't believe how often it happens. We get examples like the one on the right, and we try and be good from our side with people asking us for quotations on projects, that we give them all the information they might need. Sometimes we work with big organizations or big companies where there's multiple departments, and the procurement department's got nothing to do with the financial department, or that actually pays your bill, and and they work on a purchase order or purchase order number. And if you don't have that and have that on your documents, you just don't get paid, because the left and the right hand don't know what they're doing in that client's organization. So down to things like that, it's important. Let's see. So yeah, just to that point, half the time you are the industry expert. Your client is a bigger idiot than you, and the onus, no matter at what level you are responding to a RFQ or a tender, you are the expert in 90% of the cases that is going to supply the service or the product. And so the onus is also on you, for your own sake and for your own risk management, to make sure that you and the client dot all the I's and cross all the T's, and that everything is there that you need to supply, because getting signed into a contract that you either misunderstood or was misrepresented by the client, or that you didn't get the costing and pricing right because you didn't do that right, or those are all risks. And I think almost all of us, even the biggest organizations in our group here, are relatively small businesses, and it doesn't take a lot to knock over the dominoes that put you in a very, very bad spot. One bad contract, one bad client, it's one of the biggest risks, and it's one of the easiest things to manage, is if you just make sure that you don't put your hand up for things that you can't do, and that if you do put your hand up, that you know exactly what it's for and your client's expectations are managed. It's a big thing. Exactly, because, you know, your client's not always the industry expert. They might have the need, but they might not exactly know how to articulate or define. And back also to, you know, my example of the recycling trailers, is that we saw an opportunity to connect another organization, another company into the mix that actually added value to all three of our businesses that they couldn't see from the inside, because they either didn't have the connections or didn't understand the business landscape that they were operating, or couldn't see that angle that we could see and bring to the mix.